Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the On Deck podcast. This is episode 31, and as you can see, we have a very special guest here. This has been my battery mate for quite a while, going back to the 18U days with Leaside, and, skip forward ahead 7 years. Still my catcher for the Leaside senior team. Without further ado, welcome to the On Deck podcast, Graham Henry.
What's up, man? Happy to be here.
Yeah, likewise. I'm glad we were able finally to get this to happen.
Yeah, we've chatted a couple times about it. It's been in the works, but happy to finally be on.
Yeah, likewise. So, how you been, with the actually, since let me get your first thoughts on the regular season coming to an end, the final day.
I mean, tough one for you. I'm sure the listeners are well aware. We got a Yankee fan on our hands, but it was a good day. My guy Kirk showing up, two dingers and a double. We always take that. Gosman, not the best, but 5 days. See what happens. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll see you boys. You got a
that
tough
was
matchup yourself.
that was a crazy game. I was trying to keep score on both games, and I saw Gosman was getting a little shaky, and then same with Heel, and I guess it ended up working out for you guys, but it was close for a bit, and then it just got blown all the way open.
Yeah, it was a crazy day, man. There's so too many sports for the screens. Didn't have enough eyes for it, but yeah, it was awesome. I mean, you guys, what, eight straight to cap it off?
Yeah, it was
Blue Jays in classic Jays fashion, can't make anything easy for the fans, but it was awesome, man. I've been watching baseball for a long time. That was one of the better days we've had as a Jays fan, so it's pretty cool. And I'm excited for the playoffs. Some really cool matchups, I think.
Yeah, overall, every single division came down to like the final day because we had the Tigers looking like the number one team for 3 quarters of the season, and then they just come crashing down. I was looking at the standings yesterday. Seattle's the number two seed. Like
It
that was crazy to see.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I mean, no Houston Astros in the playoffs. I mean, as a non-Houston fan, it's a great thing to see,
Oh
but
yeah, love
just
to
as a
see that.
baseball fan in general, it's pretty incredible after you pick up Correa, you're like, oh geez, here we go again. But no, Seattle's scary, man. They might be my pick. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
They they got
they
it
got a
going.
crazy pitching staff. They got Cal there behind the dish. Who knows how that MVP race, comes down to, but quite a historic season for him over there.
Oh, unreal. Unreal stuff. I'm
All
sure we
right,
might touch
jumping.
on a little.
Oh yeah, we'll touch on that for sure.
We'll
But
touch.
jumping right into it, as a guy that's been playing both in the OUA with Laurier and just last year with the OCAA with Seneca, what are some differences that you've seen in between those two leagues?
Yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed both my time with Laurier and Seneca. It was both great programs, great people. Obviously the OCAA is looking a little different these days. Uh, I'm not sure if people know about that, but serves three programs, I believe, are out, including us at Seneca. So a bit different. Some of the main differences that I noticed personally was one, just straight up the roster sizes. In the OUA, it was you travel most teams, it's a 30-man roster. You got guys for certain situations. Yeah, it was pretty intense. I mean, very rare guys are playing multiple positions. Very rare there's a two-way situation, unless it's obviously warranted. There's special occasions we know. The other thing with that roster size, I think it also brings more parity, right? Like we in the OCAA, it's kind of you never there were certain games where we were showing up to the field and it's kind of we knew what the outcome was going to
Oh
be.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think in the OUA there's a bit less of that. There would be kind of surprises popping up, and I think that probably has to do with team size. I'm not 100% sure. Also, the one other big thing is baseball in the OUA is a tier two sport, whereas in the OCAA, honestly, I don't even know if they have tiers. I think everything is technically on the
Yeah, I
same
think
level.
everything stays at that same level.
Right. So for when we were at Laurier, they were just kind of so more. I didn't really notice a lot of it when I was at Laurier. It was more when I got to Seneca, I noticed things that we had that weren't necessarily there in the past. So as like, for example, Sarah, our strength coach at Seneca, our strength coach for the Laurier baseball team was a third party guy. Like
Oh,
our coach
yeah.
brought him in to the staff rather than someone from the school. So that was something that was kind of interesting. You realize like what the schools are providing versus what you're providing kind of thing. The other thing that I thought of too was interesting is every game that we played at Seneca was broadcast, right? We had
Yeah.
like two guys on the mic, different camera angles. When I think it's changed a little bit, but so like that those were kids in the broadcasting or journalism program at our school, right? Whereas I think when I was playing, only a few teams in the OUA were doing it. For example, Waterloo was doing it, and it would be two of their pitchers who weren't involved in that game would be on the mic and setting up the camera and doing it. So I think that's another difference. And then the last key difference I would say is the playoffs. In in the OUA, the regular season doesn't really mean a whole lot. I know they added like a national tournament kind of thing that to try and add some more juice to the regular season, where I think it's like a I want to say top of the regular season gets in automatically kind of thing. But once you're in the playoffs in the OUA, it's you're in a regional system, kind of similar to the NCAA, but in a sense, not really because everyone's in it, right? So, for example, mine was called the Far West, and it would be us, Waterloo, Windsor, and Western, and you would have to win that regional tournament to move on. Whereas the OCAA is, well, I think top two teams get a bye, and then
Yeah, so it
maybe
was the top
three to
two, and
six
then the remaining, yeah, it was 6 teams, I think.
battled it out kind of thing. Right. So I think that's another big difference that I noticed is the playoffs, right? Because we were, at least for us at Seneca, near the end of the season, we were playing games to get into the playoffs, right? And we're
Yeah.
making decisions based on, hey, we have to win this game. We might punt on one game against a really good team to save guys for the next. Obviously, it didn't work out, but that's something that I wasn't really used to, right? Like playing a regular season game to get into the playoffs rather than just kind of like a tune-up.
I see. And yeah, with you mentioning that, the OCAA playoffs are quite different than OUA. I was literally just thinking about it maybe a couple months ago, is that now with there only being what, 7 teams as far as we know,
Yeah,
does that just mean one team isn't gonna make the playoffs? Like I haven't been
yeah,
really following OCAA this year, but yeah, it was crazy to see 3 teams just get cut, and it's kind of like, oh, here you guys go the rest of the season.
yeah. It's sort of like interesting too because I was kind of thinking about the like when we got cut. Obviously, it sucked. We don't have to do that whole
Oh yeah,
thing,
no, we're not gonna do that
but
today.
uh, but you kind of in the back of my head. So the things I just talked about, whereas like the things we were getting from the school. Another thing I didn't say, like we got a lunch every time we had a game, right?
Yep.
We didn't get lunch at the
Oh,
at Laurier unless it was like some. I think we got it once, and it was because like we knew one of the coaches knew someone who owned a restaurant in the town. Like it was
yeah.
just a happen chance, but um, it's kind of sort of like, oh, our program gets cut, all these kind of extra things. It's maybe like, is that what happened? I know it's a way deeper, more. It's not our job to figure that stuff
Yeah,
out, but
no,
it kind of makes you think about what's what's being spent and what's necessary and all that. But
yeah, I had the same debate with like a bunch of the guys. It's like, do we really need X, Y, Z when we can, there's a
yeah,
field down the street that we can play at. We don't
yeah,
need to play at the best field in Ontario kind
right,
of thing.
right. And it's also like, yeah, I like my Nike tracksuit, but like I don't need 10 things.
Yeah. And it was crazy to see. I got a text, not to get too far into it, but I got a text from like the Seneca, like I guess the varsity number. It was like, oh, players that are returning won't be getting their kits this year. You kind of just get what you get from
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, I think times are changing clearly.
Oh yeah, big time. But moving back into it, kind of talking more about the OUA versus OCAA, what are some of the tendencies that, you kind of saw or, differences compared to similarities versus the teams like on the field that you would be playing against?
Yeah. I mean, the one something similar I'd say for both leagues, and it's honestly kind of, I think, for all baseball in Canada is like usually it's offense first, right? Like high scoring games, a lot of offense, a lot of scoring run. And with that, it's those teams that have the elite pitching that kind of will rise to the top in a sense. And I think the similarity aspect is like the best players always win, right? The teams with
Oh,
the best players usually come out on top. As much as we talked about the parity and things like that, when it comes down to it, those best players make those. It's kind of like the OCW you talk about. What is it? St. Clair.
St. Clair.
Like you roll up, you play that team, and you're like, all right, things are a
We
little
we know
different
the
around
outcome
here. And
here.
yeah, like those teams, they just kind of they move in a way. They come off the bus. They're just those teams will always be those teams. And I think that's the same in the OUA. I mean, like U of T, the Guelphs, those teams, they'll always be in it, right? And I think the tendencies, it's kind of I wouldn't say there's a ton of difference in the actual gameplay. It's more just I don't know, kind of stumping me on this one. Is it good? Yeah, I think it's sort of that fine line between the teams with the best players usually come out on top, but it's also those teams do things a little different than the other teams. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I remember we always used to do an exhibition game against, I think it was McMaster. I don't think we were able to do it last year, or I can't remember. But anyways,
Not sure. I
they
remember either.
used to run and bunt like an insane amount. They used to run. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like the UCLA like kind of timing
Yeah,
mechanism,
yeah,
but they used
right.
to do that like crazy. And
Yeah, so I think there's definitely certain teams like Westerns known they're very aggressive stealing. Like they'll run. Guy gets on, they're probably running. I think that sort of plays into that offense first of you got to score, right? Like
yeah, 100%.
you have to score. And I think there's it kind of that point of elite pitching is where those style of teams, things can get really interesting because if you got a guy who can't field a bunt or doesn't know how to hold on runners, but he's a really good pitcher, where's what kind
Yeah,
of do you
it could go
fall on?
anywhere with
It's
that.
it's difficult, right? Because you can in a in these leagues, the runs are so important because a lot of the time there are a lot of them. So you just have to find ways to stack, keep scoring, and if you get guys on, you got to get them around.
Yeah, because I remember, speaking of like being an offensive league, even in the OCAA, like the guy that recruited me, Edwin Kim, he was saying how, yep, this, it's a very hitter dominant league, and like we were able to see that last year with the 20-21 score against Fanshawe. Like that was insane. Like you don't see those kind of high scoring games like especially in that late of the season where you kind of have games that matter. But yeah, definitely, I can definitely agree with the OUA being offensive heavy. Like OCAA is the same thing. You maybe have five or six really dominant pitchers at the top, and then it's like everybody else is just like in that middle tier. And you know, four of those five guys are probably on St. Clair already. So
Yeah.
it's like you just need to past St. Clair, and everybody else is kind of like, oh, you know what, middle of the road.
Right. And it's the other part that plays into it too, which kind of almost you would think would aid the pitchers. It's like you're playing in mid-October and it's cold,
Oh,
man, and it's
it's getting
wet and
real
it's
cold.
raining and it's I think that might play into sometimes the defense can lack, but it's yeah, it's most of those games are usually a race to see who can score the most, and it can definitely cause exciting baseball, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. But yeah, moving into, I was kind of curious about this question, thinking of it. I've seen you play all nine positions throughout our long time playing together, and I gotta ask you, which one is your favorite to play?
So this was a tough one because like obviously catching's the first love. I'll always love catching. But man, I love those games when I see Henry and a six next to it. And I get to run out to shortstop and act like I run the whole game. It's awesome, man. I love shortstop. I play more on the corner. The corner, man, you gotta have quick reaction on the corner. I like
Yeah.
a little bit of range. I like to see the pitches being called. But yeah, can't beat shortstop.
Yeah, it's one of those games, especially during the senior season, guys don't show up. It's like, hey, who's playing shortstop today?
Never know. You never know.
Exactly. Yeah, honestly, I love those games too. It's like you could be put literally anywhere, but if once you see that six written on the scorecard, it's a good
So
feeling.
good. So good.
But you loving catching, I gotta ask, what's the hardest part of catching that most people would not notice?
Yeah, so I thought this was actually a really good question. I thought of it in more catching's obviously it's so physically demanding. Everyone just sees you get beat up, you get smoked by fastballs, you get hit by foul tips. It's not a glamorous lifestyle on the baseball field. Um, but for me, sometimes the hardest thing can be, you just gotta flush what happens on offense, right? Like if you're playing left field and you strike out, you're probably going to left field and you're gonna think about that
Oh yeah, you got
until
tons
you
of
hit
time to
again,
think out
unless
there.
like yeah. And whereas catcher, it's as much as you're there as yourself, like you got to be there for your pitcher, you got to be there for your teammates. Like you got to run the show. So I think that can be really difficult sometimes. It's like if things aren't going your way, just brushing that off and moving past it can be difficult at times, right? And I think that's something that people don't really think about because you think about catching, it's just you get back there. It's just part of it. And no, I think that can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah,
And
it's
also
one of those
spiked
positions that
fastballs.
you always have to stay like engaged. Rather, if the game is going really well or really bad, you have to be like locked in at all times. And yeah, now that you say that, it's definitely something that even I never really had thought about because like you could be having you go 0 for 4 at the play at the dish, but then you gotta still remember to not be late blocking balls, like calling pitches, throwing guys out. It's like you still have a lot to think about back there. It can't just be, oh man, I had a bad day at the plate today. It's like you still got to be there for your pitcher at the end of the day.
For sure. And I think it's also that point of if yeah, you can't dwell on it, right? Like you have to move on. You have to be there for your guy. There's too much to think about for you to be thinking about pitches that already happened, right?
Yeah, it's one of those positions that you can't live in the past. You always got to think about the next pitch.
Yeah, and the other interesting part too with catcher, it's like usually if you don't get noticed, it's because you're having a good game, right? Like you notice the catcher when he's dropping the ball or when the ball's getting through him or
Yeah,
when he's throwing away and things like that. So no, it's definitely a tough play, but it works.
but now we got to talk about another fun question is that, who's been your favorite pitcher to catch and why?
All right, so I had two for this. I didn't want to give you because I thought
Nah,
that
that's a
would
that's a that's a
ruin the
cop out
list here.
answer. I appreciate that.
So
That's kind of a cop out.
I got two here. I got one vet from our Leaside senior team, obviously Jorge Fergoni. Just unreal, man. I mean, he's got a great mix. It's just his confidence on the mound. He's unfazed. He's not afraid to pitch inside. He's what, 42?
Yeah,
And he's
he's up there for
by
sure.
far the best pitcher on our team. He's arguably the best pitcher in our league. Like it's pretty unbelievable. Fields his position. It's great, man. And he's easy to work with too, right? He doesn't shake off. and he's just a workhorse. He gets the job done.
Yeah, absolute dog out there.
Unreal. And then, so for the other one is a guy I caught at Laurier. His name's Julian Russell. I don't know if you ever know him, but he's a good pitcher. He was a two-way guy actually at Laurier, but hard fastball, good slider, good changeup. Pitch just a guy like a bulldog, unfazed. Like I said about Jorge, not afraid to pitch inside, pitch all over, doesn't shake you off, and he's just a guy, man. Like so much confidence, and every time we caught him, it was just a delight.
Yeah, I gotta, speak a little bit about Jorge because man,
Oh
watching him from like the bench this season was insane. Like, especially at the guy's age, like you'd think there'd be some, wear and tear on the body, but especially during the limbs, going out there twice, two CGs, like, and then going to nationals, throwing 2 innings on a broken hand, like it was
it's a monster.
absolutely insane, insane work.
It's unreal, man. I've seen that guy pitch Friday nights, complete games, and then come back Saturday nights and close games out, like multi-inning saves, like just unreal stuff that things like you couldn't even fathom doing yourself. Like my body would fall
Yeah,
apart. But
exactly. That's what
but
I'm.
he's like he wants it. Like he's like, this is easy, man. And it's like, geez, I'm happy this guy's on our side.
Yeah, it was definitely something to crazy to watch. And I remember Nails was talking to me in the during the winter trainings, like, "Oh yeah, Jorge, he'll probably throw, 190 innings this year." I was like, "Okay, like I didn't know how to take that," but like seeing him go out there every single day, and he wants to play a position too. Like it's not like he
Oh
just wants
yeah.
to pitch. He wants to play position. He wants to hit. He just wants to be on the field as much as possible.
It's yeah, it's crazy. There's not many words to describe it. It's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm crossing fingers that, he comes back next year, but, we gotta still do a lot of convincing to get him back.
We got a good roster coming in, so I think he sticks around.
Yeah, I hope so because it was an absolute delight to watch that man work on the mound.
Unreal.
But, I gotta ask another question about catching, moving back onto it. I was a catcher at one point at a younger age, obviously, and, there's some things that kind of phase me out of catching, but what is one piece of advice to someone at a younger age that's kind of on the fence about if they want to stick to catching or, move off the position?
Yeah. Well, the one quick one I'll say, so just me myself, like I coach, and having the ability to catch makes you so much more desirable for coaches, right? Like if you have a guy, if you let's say you have two guys, they're the same height, same skill set, they both play second base, their primary. The one guy's backup position is right field, the other guy's backup position is catcher. You're taking the guy whose backup position is catcher, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the one easy main thing I would say. Um, the other part of it, man, I think it makes you such a better baseball player. I think it improves your baseball IQ. It makes you think a ton, which when I was younger, I don't know about you, when I was playing baseball, I was just kind of playing, right? You weren't really thinking about things. You weren't thinking a couple pitches ahead. And I think catching really taught me how to do that. And I mean, I think it toughens you up too. I don't know this. I'm gonna tell a story. This doesn't might not make sense. When I was little, like first year playing rep baseball, I would catch and I loved catching, but I would play like second base and I would be scared of a ground ball, right? Like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I think over time, catching just toughened me. I mean, now like I'll play second base. I'll just like drop to a knee, let it hit me, pick it up, throw it to first. And
Yeah.
I think those are certain things. I mean, toughness, I don't know. You can't really teach toughness, right? Like those things kind of just happen. Playing a catcher will make those things happen fast because either if you don't like it, you don't last very long. That's the other kind of thing I would say about if you're on the fence, it's you kind of gotta you're into it or you're not. It's
Yeah,
pretty
you'll learn very
pretty
quick
easy to figure
if
out
you're
it.
into it
Yeah,
or not.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, speaking about like having a better baseball IQ while catching, I can completely agree with that because, there was times where, guys wouldn't show up to practice and I'd be the one catching pens and or even catching live. And there's just a different mentality of like IQ of like reading swings, reading where guys' weaknesses and strong suits are at the plate and even on the mound. It's like being able to pinpoint where guys need to throw the ball to be successful. It's like you're not really thinking about that in any other position but catching.
And I think really in youth baseball, like having a good catcher sort of separates a lot of the good teams and the bad teams, right? Because usually playing youth baseball, the best kids probably playing shortstop, then the fast guys playing center field. But those teams that have a really good catcher and a catcher that can think the game early, you're just at such an advantage because, right, like you said, if a kid can, if a guy's way early on a swing and the guy playing catcher can realize that, and the coach doesn't have to scream and say, "Hey, be smart," or has to call the pitch.
Yeah.
It just makes your team that much better, I think.
Yeah, and especially at a young age too. I don't know about your teams, but my teams would love to run. And if
Yeah,
you're having a catcher that can control the running game, especially at a young age, I think that's like a recipe for success.
100%. It's like we were kind of talking about earlier, right? You got to score runs and bunting and stealing bases. That's a catcher can change that, right?
Oh,
So
big time.
I think, yeah, definitely. It's I think people who know baseball kind of understand how important it is, but maybe for the casual eye, it doesn't seem as important, but it's a game changer having a good catcher.
Oh, big time. And with this news coming out just last week, and I think it's a great topic to talk about now. I gotta get your opinion on the ABS system.
Yeah,
What are the thoughts?
I mean, I'm into it. I'm into it. But like it's an interesting because so what? It's gonna be you get two challenges. If you're wrong, they're burned. But if you're right, you save them.
Yeah, basically.
Do you think do you think that how long do you think that's gonna last as the limit?
That's a good question because I know with like regular challenges you get it's use it or lose it kind of thing. Um, I think it'll stay for two for at least this year. I think it's kind of one of those things that they'll play it by year, but I think it'll be two for next year for sure. And I think it's one of those, if they read that, there's multiple blown calls during the game, then I think they might increase it. But it's definitely a interesting thing because, you being a catcher, a lot of guys take passion in framing or setting up pitches well to present to umpires. So if you have that ability essentially lost to some degree, what are you just there catching the ball? Because you can also like pitchers now are making calls from pitch com. So does that kind of
Right.
take away from the catcher's job, or is it, kind of I don't know. It was an interesting thing that arose, and I was like, oh, I got the perfect guy to talk about with this.
So I think personally, I like if it stays at two, I don't think it's gonna have as much of an impact as people kind of think. I personally think it's gonna be like a team's gonna blow two early in a game, and then in the bottom of the ninth, there's gonna be a strike, and they're not gonna have one,
Yeah.
and then that'll blow it up, and it'll become a whole thing. The one interesting thing I think is does it give a guy more time behind the plate to develop? So for you, like a Yankees fan, Ben Rice, right? He's way better. I think he's a better hitter than Austin Wells, probably, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like not even close.
Yeah, not
But
even close.
he's probably not playing game one against Crochet.
No,
I know he's
he's
a
not.
lefty.
They
I know
just
he's a
announced
lefty.
it a couple hours ago.
Oh, okay.
It's
Right.
Wells
I didn't even
and Goldie at first.
right. So as much as that's the lefty lefty, I think if Ben Rice was a really good defensive catcher, he's playing over Austin Wells, right?
Yeah.
And like, so I don't know if it provides guys more time to improve, or is it now the guy with the 175 pop time? Does he come up? Or because I think the other thing with catching too is the bags being bigger changes everything with the stolen base too.
Yeah.
That's also another topic we could talk about another time. The ABS thing, it's interesting, right? Because so like Kirk's like a superstar at blocking,
Yeah.
but he doesn't throw or sorry, at blocking
Framing.
and receiving. He's the best at blocking and he's like second best at receiving or whatever. Like he's elite at receiving. Is him not having a great arm, is he gonna lose his spot? I don't know. I think we're obviously gonna have to see it, but I'd be interested to see if it gives us more offensive catching, and it's like, hey, this guy's all right behind the plate, but he rakes, so who cares? Go for it. But also, yeah, I mean, throwing and blocking could become the primary stats. Like probably right now, the most important stat for catching is framing
Yeah.
because it's the big leagues, right? Like guys don't throw pitches in the dirt unless they throw it in the dirt on purpose. And stealing is what it is. It's almost like no pitchers aren't holding on
Oh,
guys
no,
for the
absolutely. It's
gutter
almost
part,
like
right? Like
guaranteed at
it's
this point, unless it's
yeah,
like an absolute
yeah,
dart over the second
yeah,
base.
right. It's like you throw your pitch with 100% intent. Don't worry about the runner kind of thing. So I think I'm a little worried for my catching position, man. Things it might lose a little bit of its luster. Obviously, handling the pitching staff will never change. That I think is a key factor that can be one of those kind of hardest things about catching we didn't really talk about. It's a little, obviously a little, very different in senior baseball and the big leagues handling a pitching staff, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's that baseball IQ. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think it's definitely going to change the way that catching is looked at and what's seen as most important, that's for sure.
Now, jumping quickly into, the umpire side of this, do you think, I talked about this a long time ago. Do you think there should be a threshold with this ABS system that, based on the challenge calls that an umpire will have against them, if they drop below a certain threshold, should they be demoted or, sent down to like AAA to work on,
Yeah,
reading the
some
zone?
accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. The only thing is you have to have guys in the minors who are good enough to take those spots,
Yeah,
right? So
I guess that's something that, I didn't really take into account, but yeah, like you see
I
it all the time that there's so many like bad calls. Like
oh,
there's been
it's
I've
terrible.
watched so many pitches like down the middle just not called strikes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
uh
It was
okay.
the other night when Hoffman was in the I want to say it's either the first or the second game against the Rays, but there were like three awful strike call. Like it wasn't even close. So I think yeah, it things like that shouldn't be happening in Major League Baseball, right? So I think the ABS is good in that sense that maybe that's all we needed for some accountability, right? It's like I don't want to be the guy. Like we might not even have to demote people. It might just be the guy at the top of the list with 100 challenges. It's like, hey man, you
You
gotta change
figure it
something
out.
here. Like what is going on? But yeah, I do like the accountability for the umpires.
Yeah, because realistically, all it takes is one pitch in any kind of big situation to turn a game the other way.
100%. 100%.
But, that's gonna be it for today, Graham. I really appreciate this conversation that we had. I think it was very, informal with, being a catcher, but also, getting a little bit of insight of what it takes to be a part of the position.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. We'll definitely have you back on we got a lot of topics to debate about.
Yeah, yeah, we could chat. I was listening to the one with AJ, he had some freezing cold takes from the start of the year.
Oh yeah. Hey, we might have to get you both on. We'll have a good one for
Maybe,
sure.
maybe. That'd be awesome.
All right, thanks, guy. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, dude.